Hi everybody, I'm here again with Melissa Barlas, the director and founder of Conveyed. How are you, Melissa?
I'm really well. How are you?
Good, thank you. Melissa is also a property lawyer. Melissa, what sort of safety net clauses should purchasers be trying to negotiate into their contract?
Really important. So when you buy a property, whether it be a commercial property, residential property, whatever, off the plan property, which is a property that hasn't been titled or constructed yet, or anything that's established already there, always important to consider what sort of safety nets do I need in the contract that I'm about to enter into to buy a property. We don't think beyond, a lot of people don't think beyond the price or the deposit amount or the stamp duty. Those are the basic stuff that goes through people's heads when they buy property, but it does go a bit deeper, and you start to uncover that once you start dealing with the agent and once you start dealing with your mortgage broker like Marlene, fantastic mortgage broker, and once you start dealing with a legal professional like myself, your property lawyer or your licensed conveyancer, start to uncover it. And you start to realise, okay, I might need some more in this contract to protect myself. And there are some fairly foundational ones that we tend to recommend to clients a lot. So definitely, making a contract subject to finance.
Yep.
From a legal perspective, putting aside commercial thoughts, from a legal perspective, that's always a good safety net, because if you are, say, a first home buyer, or if you're someone that's newly buying a property or not familiar with the property market, and you are not confident that you might be getting finance, or even if you are, you just want that peace of mind, it's always good to make the contract subject to potentially being able to exit it if you don't get your loan formally approved. So that's what that means, making a property subject to finance. That's exactly what that means. So you might want to think about putting that as part of your offer, your price offer. And then the other classic one is getting a building and pest inspection done. So making a contract subject to you doing that, to make sure you're doing your checks. Because whilst we always recommend to customers get that check done before you buy, sometimes you don't have time. Sometimes you could be buying something privately through an agent, and you've got some competition, vendors prepared to contract with you, but you just don't have time. It's either you secure it now or in the short term, or you kind of lose out, and that can happen in the property market. So it's always good to try and negotiate making a contract subject to a building and pest inspection as part of your offer when you don't have time to do it beforehand. Other ones can depend on what we're looking at in a contract. So we think about, if you're reliant on your bank valuation coming in at a certain point when you're getting finance, trying to negotiate to make the contract subject to a bank valuation. Some of the time it's hard to get that over the line unless it is circumstantial. It depends on how potentially desperate the vendor is to sell, etc. But we have been successful with that in the past. So that could be something you want to think about as well. Other things just depend on the type of property and the contract we're looking at. For example, there might be some things we suggest when we review the contract to strike off, to delete, to add, based on what we're looking at. Let's say you want to buy something in a new estate, so you're probably likely to buy a property that hasn't been titled or constructed yet, like a land lot. We might be looking at not a land lot, let's say it's an apartment or it's got a structure on it. You might be looking at checking that there's a defect liability clause in there and making that subject to your offer, making sure that there's some entitlements to require a seller to fix things. There's lots of different stuff. So it goes back to that same old recommendation: get the contract reviewed before you buy, and then you'll know exactly what safety nets you need to negotiate into your contract.
There's a lot to think about. Thank you so much. Really good advice.
Pleasure.
Thanks. Bye-bye.